Mic check 1 2 1 2. This is exciting times, ladies and gentlemen. We have just hit record on the first episode 0 of I Will Not Lose podcast. So what are you listening to? Who am I? I'll be your host, Tony Ortiz. I'm a marketing entrepreneur, father of 2, wrestler. I'm a gamer. I'm a techie. Somewhat of a philosopher, although I don't care too much about philosophy. I think it adds a lot of questions to things that we probably shouldn't be questioning, that we don't have an answer to. So this podcast isn't going to be spending a whole bunch of time, but there will be some thought experiments, things like that, just to get it out of the way. I have to shout out a few very important people that helped me get everything started. I'm going to start in order of really just timeline, not really importance. Nobody's more important than another. But I want to shout out Ianav Arts. It's at AIANAV Arts. I'll throw up the tag on there. That's V Alvarado. She definitely supported doing a podcast, told me that there is hope for people wanting to hear my voice and long form content. So she helped me believe in myself and put this together. Once I decide I'm going to do something, I really start to formulate it for a while. So trying not to suffer too much from perfectionism. I knew this wasn't going to be perfect when we started, but I'll be damned if I would have thought we would have got this far as fast as we did. So big shout out to everyone who believed in me. Big shout out to Jay Palos, audio engineer. I like to reach out to my network when I'm going to do something. And I just said, look, I got this crazy idea. I'm going to start a podcast. Why don't we figure out what kind of equipment? Let's walk through this. I shared a job with audio video with Jay, and he was able to pick me out with the Samsung SM57 and SM58s. But that didn't help me because all I knew was which mic I needed to get. I didn't actually have the mic just yet, and I didn't plan on putting any budget into a podcast as of a week ago. But then I reached out to my buddy, Johnny Melendez. Big shout out to Johnny Melendez. This has been my best friend since maybe kindergarten. And we used to spend some time in the studio. For those of you who don't know me, I had a background as a rapper, which seems like such a long life ago that I didn't even mention it in my Who Am I? But we spent a lot of time in his basement building out multiple studios. So I knew if I needed to do this, he was the guy to do it. So I called him up. He said, oh, yeah, I got an SM57 and an SM58. So I was like, that's great. I want to start this. When do you think you could do it? He said, I'll be there in about 3 hours. So we came down. We realized we needed an interface. Came and found, ran to Guitar Center and found this used Tascam. I think it sounds pretty good. I mean, it's got a warranty on it, so hey, fuck it. So what made me decide to actually go and do this? Well, there was a lot of thought that went into it. Currently a full-time creative entrepreneur, so I don't have time to do it. I know the respect for the game and the equipment that's necessary, so I don't have the equipment to do it. And then I said, you know what? All of these things, if I don't set the goal to be the next Joe Rogan, I really can't lose. If I get 5 viewers that listen into my thoughts, this is a success. So started formulating on the idea, I will not lose. So I said, let me say I'm going to do this without a title. Let's go over some failed names for the podcast. Let's see. This was going to be Drop the Mic Podcast. But that's obviously taken. Then I was like, all right, Respect the Mic. Yeah, let's do Respect the Mic podcast. Turns out that is 2 gentlemen in Great Britain, I believe, have a podcast, Respect the Mic. So big shout out. Love the name. From there, it was like, okay, how do I tie some sort of hip hop in? I am a huge hip hop enthusiast, although I did make the hard decision not to make this focus completely on hip hop and hip hop culture, even though it's a huge part of me. That's where I started listening to a trap remix, and they sampled the Jay-Z quote, I will not lose. I said, you know what? I like that. Let me see if I can build something off of that. So we hit Google and wow, doesn't exist. There's a not lose podcast, but there is no I will not lose. So without committing to being hip hop and trying to get a sample cleared from Jay-Z, trust me, my mind started going with I will not lose. I started to think that, you know, if you don't have, I don't want to say if you don't have a goal, because it's always important to have goals, but sometimes it's better to set your goal at 50%. And when you get to 50%, set it to 70% instead of trying to set it for 150%. Because then even if you hit 120%, you're still going to be like, man, I fell short of my goal. So the idea of falling short of a goal, the idea of failure is an interesting one to me, because you don't learn anything from successes. You learn everything from failures. And as I'm going and consuming content over the week, I'm like, wow, there's all these stories of people, you know, everybody wants to hear Elon Musk about how he launched the spaceship to Mars and recolonized a new planet and saved humanity. But nobody wants to hear about the failures that he had before PayPal and before his entrepreneurial success. I do. I think that's great. So I started thinking, who do I know? I didn't want this to be a guest-oriented podcast, but you can tell from my setup that there's just too many great stories. There's too many successes of people who have failed of something. I really think we can create content for years, if not decades, just based off the idea of changing the perspective, changing the mind state of when you have a failure, what can I learn from it immediately? So, yeah. I will not lose podcasts. Successes of stories of successes learned from failures. We'll come up with catchy stuff and we'll start growing and we'll figure it all out from there. Once I decided I wanted to do it, I started flipping my basement, clearing things out, making room to build a studio, simply because I had a dream the night before that I did it. And when I woke up and didn't have a studio, I was really upset and I just couldn't sit well. So got everything together, said, hey, I need a logo. You know, my background is in graphic design and video. So I said, you know, I do have some of the skills to not have to outsource all of this. So I started on the logo. It was a microphone. You're not going to believe me because you're never going to see it, but I had a microphone with the cartoon flame coming out of it and wings, and it was like a trophy, and it was like, I will not lose, and it had the text all sick. And then I showed it to my boy Johnny. He's the only one that's ever seen it. He's like, nah, that's pretty sweet, but let's get these audio drivers together. So I download the audio drivers for the Tascam. It asked me to restart, and I don't even think, I just been designing this logo for 2-3 hours. I didn't even save. So I restart my computer, and I go to launch the logo, all gone. And I'm not recreating it. So I said, all right, here's my chance to really figure out what it was. It's right now about 12:30. Now it's 1:15 p.m. I got up slightly after 12. This is the longest I ever slept in, because I was just up till 2 or 3 last night working on logos, putting some things together. So let me know what you guys think. I will not lose logo. All right, so now we got the equipment, we got the area, we got the logo. We don't quite have all the camera or the things we need, but we have enough to start record. Do I really want to do this? Who am I to be an orator? Who am I to have a voice that I think people would care to listen to? But then I thought, that's the wrong mentality. It doesn't matter who would listen. You're listening right now. You have to understand that means the world to me. So it is up to me to provide quality content and give you a reason to listen and come back. I'm going to shoot for about 20 to 25 minutes per podcast in the beginning, and eventually it'll evolve into something long form. But I have to see which interviews hit. Have to start somewhere and see what works. And I will be reading comments. I will be reading things. If you got a negative comment and you're telling me to go screw myself, well, good luck. I have a complete barrier against other people's opinion. I mean, in fact, it's to a fault. I really don't care what people think of me, but I do prefer that they think highly of me. So if I'm droning on and this is completely boring, please pass it on to somebody who may care for it, or just tell me, and I will, within character, make some changes to make this what you want to be, who you want to see, stories you want to hear. What can we talk about? Well, obviously, I can talk forever about the things that I love: gaming, hip hop, tech. And part of me even said, hey, if I if I can't get a bunch of great interviews and I can't make a huge I Will Not Lose success podcast, then I'll just make a gaming channel called I Will Not Lose, and I'll bust your ass in some Halo Infinite. So I really cannot lose because I didn't set myself up with any goals to fail at. That doesn't mean that I'm just going to hit record and talk. Trust me. I didn't go and flip an entire area and build a podcast studio and stay up late just to hit record and rant. But the ability to be able to do it and do it well and have it sound good is very important to me. So I will be working from notes. There will be some structure, although it's malleable at this time. I will be waiting to hear what you guys want to hear as final content. Other than that, if I forgot you in the shout outs, then I'm sorry, but there's still opportunity to sponsor the next episode, be a guest, shoot an idea for some sort of guests. What sort of things do I need? I need a few adapters, but for the most part, I got the basics. We got 2 mics. We got some things. We will have sponsorship availability for areas like the green screen here in the back. We'll be able to throw some different things up. So I'm excited. Oh, last shout out I forgot. Nice Jones and Mr. Badales over there at Empower 610 podcast. That, I will tell you, was the final straw that made me say I'm going to do this. And I listened to their podcast. They dropped it 6 days before the pilot. Go on YouTube and search Empower 610. I'll see if I could throw a thumbnail up in post. But these guys just went ahead and did it. And I said, man, now I really have no excuse. I would have been sitting here trying to perfect this idea for at least the next 6 months to 2 years. And by that time, I don't even know if the wave would have been there for podcasts. Trust me, I don't think these are going anywhere. I don't think podcasts are going anywhere. I think they're here to stay. But that being said, it's really a disrespect to the platform to say, all right, well, I'm just going to hop on a computer mic. Or look, I have all love for everybody that just goes out and does it. Big shout out to Emilio Mills at the Mills Edition. This is an influencer who's now got IMDb profiles. He's been in commercials. He's done all sorts of things. And his first big video for views was about how to put your emojis in Snapchat. And he had over 60,000 views, and he recorded it on his cell phone in his kitchen with a painting as the backdrop. So look, I'm not going to tell you to go and wait and have everything perfect. But at the end of the day, I've been a content creator for 15 years now, and there's a level of quality that's going to be expected from me. I'm just not allowed to just wing it. So I hope you guys can understand that I'm not going to let my perfectionist make this not happen. But at the same time, I do care very much for quality. This is for you. This is in service of you. So with that, what else do I need? I could use a blessing or some sort of, shout out to my cousin, Kaylin. She's going to hook me up with some potions that I can kind of make this, get the mojo going in this place, get some spirituality. I will probably hit up V for some sort of crystals. We got a blank slate right here. We got a gray table and a backdrop and 2 mics. You'll see from this setup, I am a minimalist, but I still think we could put some cool stuff right there. So I'm open to suggestions. Let's see, where are we at right now? Don't quite know how to tell how long I've been potting, so we're going to wrap it up in just a second. But a couple of the guests that I do have, just to give you something to look forward here on this, I have some confirmed things from a few people. I have a gentleman that spent 17 years in federal prison and has come out to make a success of himself running businesses and certain things. So to be able to go and make that sort of a flip from the street and flip it into becoming a corporate success, I think is an absolute story that people need to hear. So I'm going to hold him in the pocket for a little bit. We do got Gil Thompson. He doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be on a guest. Now, I joke. I would never just set somebody up or put their business out there, but he was one of the people that believed in me and said, hey, you should go and start this podcast. And I initially wanted to start it to promote his album which is Writing to Heal. Don't quote me on the exact drop date. I want to say October 24th. It's 1 month from today. You know what? He just posted. And it's September 24th. Look at that. So I'm going to go out on a whim and say October 24th, Writing to Heal will be dropping. I'll see if I can drop that graphic up. Now, you know what? I'm not going to drop the graphic because I don't know if he's released it yet. So we will release the graphic on the episode when we talk about what went into the album cover and things like that. I got a gentleman who is a good friend of mine, Robert Spirko. I gave him a call and said, you know, we've had so many conversations, 2-3 hours on end. It's usually one of our wives waiting for us to finish talking when we leave, whenever we hang out. So why on earth wouldn't we get onto a mic? And he says, well, don't you need like a studio? I often thought about that and I just didn't know how to do it. Bingo, it hit me. I've been spending my life learning audio engineering, setting up countless studios. I'll see if I can find in my Google Drive and I'll throw it up. Us setting up at Nick Fedora's studio when we literally had a mic stand connected to the garage door opener and it would hang down and there'd be a windshield that blocked it from the mic so there's no feedback, and we do live performances in his garage with some kids and girls would come over and stuff. That was really fun. But you know, for the past 10 years, I've been breaking down and setting up makeshift studios. So if I could do that and provide an outlet for somebody like a Bob Spirko, whose voice just needs to be out to the world, there's nobody this man can't have a conversation with. So I think it'd be very important to give other people a voice. So this podcast is not about me. It doesn't make sense to just be about me. All right, so other things we can do with the content. Let's see. Well, it is a video podcast, so you'll be able to see guests. It will just be me sometimes, so I'm going to have to see if I can hold an audience without having a guest. That was really big for me being able to start this. At the very least, even if I never release this and never put a piece out, being able to talk things out in long form, being able to listen to the recordings, being able to see if I'm speaking too fast or too slow, this is a form of therapy for me. So I really cannot, will not, and shall not lose. So I'm approaching about 20 minutes right now. I don't have a topic other than what's been going on, but some of the things I will be discussing, I just have to get it out there. Not necessarily things going on with pop culture, but things going on maybe in different industries or successes. These successes don't have to necessarily be things learned from failures of a specific individual. These could be things learned from the failure of a company, a failed product. It could be a failed marketing campaign. I really think that if you flip your perspective to always think that you can find a success out of everything, then I think you'll be ready to be an avid listener of this podcast and see how we find creative ways to flip the bright side, the silver lining, the light at the end of the tunnel when everything comes through. So this has been I Will Not Lose. We'll call it episode 0. There may be an episode 0.1, 0.2. Bean, come here. Come on, be my first sponsor. Come here, baby. You're scared of the camera too? All right. I got an all-white pit terrier slightly off camera. You want to come say hi? Yeah, come say hi. They want to see you, baby. Yeah. I think you're afraid. Hey, you gonna not chew my stuff? You gonna not chew my equipment? Yeah, you're gonna not bark while I'm recording? You're the best. All right. This is Tony Ortiz, your host. I Will Not Lose, episode 0. Be safe.